Listeners, welcome to WCGO 1590 AM or 95.9 FM. We have a new conservative show on the airwaves, and it's called Pat and Wally's Conservative Talk. I'm your co-host, Pat Gibbons. That being said, I'm going to pass the mic on to my friend and co-host, Wally. Hey, Wally, what do you hear? What do you say?
Hey, how's everyone doing today? We're just going to talk about the future, about Chicago crime and the veterans in Chicago.
Tune in Mondays and Tuesdays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Conservative Talk Radio with Pat and Wally. Should be a great show. We look forward to your engagement. We'll be talking about safety issues in the city of Chicago, how our veterans need help and assistance, better needed care. And also, too, very importantly, we are going to talk about the Chicago mayor that needs to be called out. I'm Pat.
I'm Wally.
And this is Pat and Wally's Conservative Talk. Tune in to Pat and Wally's Conservative Talk on Mondays and Tuesdays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. starting June 5th.
The views and opinions in the following show do not necessarily reflect that of this station or its ownership.
Wally and Al's Conservative Talk on WCGO 1590 AM or 95.9 FM. Our phone number to reach us is 877-711-5611. 877-711-5611. Today I have a couple of great guests. I have co-host Mark Weyermuller. Mark, what do you hear? What do you say?
Well, it's great to be in the studio here. It's Mark Weyermuller. They call me Man on the Street because I go to a lot of events. I take a lot of pictures. Some people that don't like me say all I do is take selfies and go to pep rallies, which I do. But I go to a lot of school board meetings. I go to political meetings. I go to the music festivals, and I'm trying to post about it. I'm trying to increase my social media. So it's just exciting to be here on the radio live.
It's great to have you, Mark. Before we get into our topic, I just want to say Grace Christian Academy in Elgin is hosting a Brave Story Hour on Thursday, August the 10th at 6:30 p.m. This is more than your average story hour. This is part of a nationwide event called See You at the Library. Brave Books and one of their authors, Kirk Cameron, started the Story Hour movement back in December of 2022 to fight for more wholesome content in public institutions. The events brought messages of hope, biblical wisdom, and patriotism to each community. Kirk and the Brave team visited. And
I met Kirk Cameron about a month ago in Chicago.
Oh, really?
And he did a group with Turning Point USA, and he's promoting reading these books in libraries. Some of the libraries are promoting like drag queens and other things, maybe satanic books, but he's trying to get more wholesome books, more family-oriented, and he's in the news. If you Google him this week, he did an event with Riley Gaines, who's a swimmer who had to compete against a man, a biological man. So they're in the news quite a bit this week, trying to shake things up at the libraries.
That's a great movement. Great movement. Also, I just want to make note, if you're listening to this show, you have probably thought about running for office. In 2024, many offices will be on the ballot, including state rep, state senator, and Republican ward committeemen. Because incumbents have rigged the system so they can run unopposed, there are many traps that can get candidates kicked off the ballot. That being said, to protect yourself, call attorney Perry Abbasi at Chicago Law, LLC. He will prepare your petitions, explain your signature requirement, and make sure you have the correct statement of candidacy, economic interests. He can also defend you before the Board of Elections with your petitions, so if they get challenged. Chicago, call Perry Abbasi at Chicago Law, LLC, can be reached by calling 773-368-5423. That's 773-368-5423. And his email is chicagolaw@yahoo.com. chicagolaw@yahoo.com. And he's a great guest, and he is going to be on the show this Monday, Mr. Perry Abbasi. All right. Our guest today is Mark Weyermuller and Dennis Green, our very own Dennis Green. Hi, Dennis.
Hello, Pat. It's great to be here.
Okay. And do we have any callers?
Yeah, we've got Jim from South Elgin on the phone.
Can I say something about Jim Economist?
Oh, yeah, of course.
Well, he's a dentist with Best Dental out in South Elgin. He's famous for he's called Jim from South Elgin, but he's famous for calling into radio shows. He's a small business person.
Okay.
I know him very well, and he's versed on all the topics. He's a good conservative, a Trump supporter.
Oh, great.
And
I like him already.
And he might be calling about supporting the police. I'm not sure what he's calling about, so I look forward to seeing what he has to say. And he might be, even in the future, a potential sponsor. So you never know.
We like that. Okay. Oh, thank you. All right, Jim, you're on.
Hey guys, good time. Good to be on your show. It's always good to expand the horizon and increase the learning audience. Yeah, I'm calling. Mark said you're talking about the pro-police, but we could just talk about a lot of political issues. One of my particular passions politically is I'm doing a lot of work on WVON, which is the black-owned talk radio station. And there's a lady there named P. Ray who's done very well. Her name is P. Ray. She has a show called the Black Excellence Hour.
Oh, yes. We had her as a guest, P. Ray. Very nice lady. Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, she's really great, and I support her. I sponsor her show. And I do a lot of other, calling in this station because people are always, for example, saying, I called yesterday and talking about Trump and things, and he says, well, he didn't build the wall. Of course he did. So I got some other information, and he built like 458 miles of wall at a cost of $46 million. And, of course, Biden stopped it, and all sorts of things. And then somebody else was talking about all these false accusations, like with there was a guy named Father Flagler who was accused by some guy that tried to shake him down. And, of course, it was all bunk. They were just trying to get money out of him. Mm-hmm. And so when I call in this, people weren't happy with what happened with Father Flagler. Why are you happy or why you support all these false claims against Donald Trump? 4 years ago, we weren't having these immigration problems in Chicago. There was a scene last week or two where these people were someplace in Englewood, and they were breaking windows and causing violence for the local people there. I said, this is all because of Biden. Trump wanted to keep all these people out. Same thing with drugs. So I think the message is starting to resonate because these people are very PO'd about what's going on. They're not happy with Johnson. I mean, there was this one school, the South Shore School, whatever it was supposed to be used for some purpose, and all of a sudden, but they couldn't do it because there was no money. Now all of a sudden the migrants come in. Oh, now we got $50 million a month to spend on these people. And there is one Alderman, Ray Lopez, you should have on. He is really right on the money about all these issues. He's probably the smartest and the best alderman that Chicago has right at the present time.
I hear he's very pro-police, Mr. Lopez.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. In fact, Mark and I went to one of his, when he's still running for mayor, we went to his event near Comiskey. I still call it Comiskey Park, place on 33rd Street. So he was there, and I got to meet him and stuff, and we've been friends since. But the other thing I do, too, is I illustrate how the city of Chicago and Illinois is run compared to Indiana. Because, you can go to Sherville and Griffith, Indiana, up and down Indianapolis Boulevard. All the stores are filled. Traffic's bustling. There's no vacant stores, or very few, if any. And yet you take Route 30 across Dyer, Indiana, across Dyer into Illinois, into Sauk Village, Ford Heights, Chicago Heights. Those places are ghost towns. There's vacant buildings galore. There's like old gas stations that are just rusted, car washes that are closed, buildings all boarded up. And this is a major highway, Route 30. And then all these liberals talk about Chuck's Gun Shop in Riverdale. Well, guess what? When you go by Chuck's Gun Shop, it's the only store that's open. All the other stores are all closed. So my message to my friends in WVON Radio Land is look what you got in your backyard and who's been in charge for all these years. The same thing with the speeding cameras and all that kind of stuff. They're all in the poor neighborhoods of Chicago. They're not downtown. They're all in the neighborhoods where people can at least afford to pay them. And who gets nickel and dime to death. So we're trying to, like Mark and I, we agree we're in for the long haul. We want to see Chicago and Illinois get better, not just leave like so many people say you should do. And there's one lady in particular, her name's Pam. She goes, if people don't like it here, they can leave. So I say, you know what? Look at what Pam says, and look at Chicago Heights and Fort Heights, and people are leaving. Are you proud of that? Is that what you want? Or do you want to try to do things to make things attractive especially for the kids. You know, if there's not a corner store for a kid to get an entry-level job when they're 16 years old, what do? They sit around and get in trouble, and the gang guy becomes their big brother. And you see this all the time, and that's why these people are so effing stupid. You know, you got to keep on knocking on the door in a nice way to try to get the message out. So that's what Mark and I do a lot.
Right. And you're right. Businesses are closing left and right. People are moving out in droves. Over 80,000 people in the last 2 years in the city of Chicago, people moved out. What we have to do is we have to wake up the silent majority, the conservatives. We have to get out there and vote. We got to vote for good conservative candidates on the ballot and kick these liberal socialists out.
Well, that's true. But see, I agree with you. But see, part of the problem is the Republicans don't really carry a good message. Do you know who Jennifer Sanalitro is?
I heard of the name. I have never met her.
Well, she's a first-time Illinois Assembly lady. She's from the Medina, Eastern Hanover Park area, and Seth Lewis is her senator. And the other person that should have won was the mayor of Bartlett. His name's Kevin Wallace. He should have won. What's going on in Bartlett, I mean, is phenomenal. And especially, you know, part of Bartlett's in Cook County, on West Lake Street by 59. They just built a few years ago a couple car dealerships, and now they're building two more, and they're building another one right on the corner of 59 and Lake Street. You know, in Cook County, commercial taxes are a killer. Mm-hmm. And I'm really happy to see, I'm glad to see this. These guys are going to spend big money. They're going to be spending big money on their property taxes, but that shows what they're seeing in that part of Illinois is worth the investment. You know, and we need to kind of do the same thing in other areas. But anyways, Kevin lost, but Jennifer won. And she knocked on a lot of doors. She says, you know, only 50% of the people came out and voted for me, you know, during the last election. And somehow, you know, we're not getting the message out. We got to make Republican and conservative people a little more exciting to the voter to get them motivated to vote. And also, I think issues like this immigration issue in Chicago is starting to turn a lot of eyes because they're all saying, I hear it all the time in VON, what are we getting for the money? We've been going Democrat all these years and blah, 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 blah. You know, so I think things are starting to change. I think P. Ray Show is a big help to that. In that matter. And, of course, I call in and I give my 2 cents, and sometimes I hear, oh, that white boy, Jim. But, you know, it doesn't bother me. I take it as a badge of honor. And also, I was calling in a lot on WCPT, which is 820. And last summer, do you know who Raza Siddiqui is?
Yes.
Well, he had a show on with Theo Hardiman on Sunday afternoons, and I would call in all the time. And one day, Raza, you know, came out to my office and Bartley wanted to meet me. He said, you know what? We like it when you call in because when you call in, the phone lines light up. And so we appreciate that because if it's the same old echo chamber, it's dull, boring radio. You know, if it's George from the Gold Coast, you know, it's the same old stuff. And so we like when you called. So I would call in and make a lot of points about Illinois, Indiana, and Pittsburgh and things like this. And one day, Raza called me. He said, you know what? They canceled our show. I said, why? He said, well, because you were calling in and they didn't like hearing it. So I said, okay. So I called in a few times, and, you know, I'd call in and I make a comment. Next time I called, the phone would just ring and ring and ring. And even though they were taking calls. So then I called from a different number, because I have what's called the burner number on my phone. I called in, got in once or twice, and then after that, I couldn't call in. So they banned me from WCPT. Unless I call from a phone that's not in their ban list, you know, it'll just ring. It won't go through.
Wow, that's interesting. Well, you're always welcome to call here.
So I appreciate it. Well, Mark told me, and if Mark recommends it, you know, it's a high recommendation and something that should be followed through.
Thank you. Yes.
Oh, thank you. That was good, man. So good job, Mark, and I'll turn the radio on.
All right.
All right, we'll see you soon, Jim.
All right.
All right, man. Go for it. Thank you.
Right. Take care. Thank you. Do we have another guest, Mr. Green?
The person that was scheduled to call in is here as well.
Okay, we have Mary on line 2. What do you hear? What do you say, Mary? Hey.
Hi, thanks for having me on. Well, I'm just on to talk about a situation that's going on with my union. I'm with Local One Unite here. Myself and 50-plus members have not been called back in 4 years after COVID. There was a big strike. Hello?
Yeah, I'm listening.
There was a big strike, and, you know, these people were striking near the Children's Hospital, making noise near the bereavement rooms. the members have basically restrained and coerced the employees in refusing to process their grievances, return us back to work when they subcontract other workers at this moment. And it's just been taking a long, long time to have us being called back. And basically, I just want to talk about government, unions, corruption, democracy, you know? So we tried to file grievances with them, and we went to the Labor Relations Board. Nothing was done. It's really hard to get these things done in a union-run state because most of these the mayors, all these officials, it's like public officials, public employees versus everyone else plus the cops. So it's been challenging for us. So we're hoping that somebody hears us. But thanks for having me.
What kind of work are you doing? What does that union represent?
Well, this particular union is a hospitality union. So I am a bartender and barista at the hotel. Most right now bars in Chicago, they deal with a lot. A lot of the bartenders are not union. Right now in the news, Local 1 is representing Berlin nightclub, which is in the LGBTQ community. I'm all for, unions for me were brought here to help and create, help for workers. But that's the problem, in my opinion, is that they're selective. Democrats are one big union, so they help their narrative. And when it comes to the small guys, they're not helping. We've been laid off for 4 years because of COVID. They did house some homeless and some people from 26 in California. So I was told when the pre-existing COVID patients were in prison. But I have my opinions on that as well, because that's when all the looting and stuff happened. It always dumbfounded me how what kind of people were out there just banging up water tower place, unless it was guys that they took out of prison. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, I just have my feelings when it comes to the ways that the unions are run in Chicago. With the mayors, they most of our votes are endorsed, by our unions. Our funds come from the unions, the CPS unions. We can't, as citizens of Chicago, we really can't, as union members, we don't even get to vote on our contracts. And, how can we fix, our problems if the collective bargaining powers that gives us, they veto how the city is run.
Right. Mary,
whether it's bartenders or cops.
Right.
So if our city is running amok, who can we go to?
Right.
We have to go to those officials that are, endorsed by our police union, endorsed by our industrial union, our business leaders. So like I said, it's public employees versus everyone else, plus the cops.
This is a sad situation, Mary. So how long has this union have been, pulling your tail? How many years?
Well, it's been over 4 years now.
4 years.
It's not only me. It's my it's my coworkers. It's
right.
It's more than 50 people.
This is crazy.
It's a lot of us, and some people were striking. Some people couldn't strike. When there was a strike pre-COVID.
Okay.
And it's hard, the union has a lot of benefits, but they make a lot of promises to some of these people that are in the union that they don't keep. I mean, if it's not for what they want, and I mean the big timers, the presidents and the officials, they don't listen to the small guy, the members that are paying. Like CPS, for example, they don't make decisions on what they want to do with the kids. They're firing teachers for saying the boy's a girl or the boy, these pronoun things. I mean, when does it get to a point where it's members that get to have their say-so, when it's the people that get to have their say-so?
I can smell the ugly Bruce.
When it comes to unions, Mary, this is what I say. At the end of the day, most of them, all they care about is to collect your dues. That's all they care about. And I know I'm going to get in a fierce. I know I'm going to get into a fierce debate right now with Mr. Green, and that's okay. I could take it. Mr. Green's a great guy. I love Mr. Green, but he's pro-union, and I am anti-union, really. At the end of the day, all they do is collect your dues, and what happens with your dues, they go into a Democratic campaign like SEIU has put in thousands upon thousands of dollars for this Bozo mayor that is literally burning Chicago to the ground. He has no safety plan, Mark. Absolutely zero safety plan. And most people don't know where their dues goes to. They don't even care. That's okay. They happily give their money to the union, and the union gives them false promises to keep their job. But there are certain situations like this situation in particular, you don't have a job. So they collected your dues. It can go into a Democratic campaign for an elected official that's literally incompetent. It
sounds like you have to find a better union.
Well, I mean, this is the first union I've ever been in, and, it doesn't give me hope or promise to be in another union. They say they're trying. We've given them ample time to help us. It's just, again, it gives me this vision that collective bargaining powers give veto on how our city is run, how bartenders are run. Bartenders have to babysit grown adults who want to hit them when they say you can't drink anymore. A lot of the bartenders, when it comes to these big, huge
is that the unions
parties,
doing, or is that just
Lollapalooza, for example?
Is that the unions doing of what you've got?
Venue. No, those are not. I don't know if those are union. But when they don't serve or when they run out of alcohol, they get bombarded and basically bum rushed by 50,000 young people because they don't serve. So now you got these people that get hit. I'm not sure if that's union or not. I'm just saying in my case, there is no other hospitality group in this particular union.
The way I look at it, just to add to the conversation a little bit, I mean, it's kind of like choosing where you work too. I mean, I'm sure this is not your first bartending job or anything else. And the first one, if you didn't like it, you left, you took your ball, you took your money, you took your dues, and you went on to another one. So I understand, but your bad job didn't stop you from forwarding your career or finding a better place. So for a union, you have a bad union, you go out and find a better union.
Job. We want our job. No, we love our job. We love that whole job.
Yeah, you just don't like the union, so go find a better union.
We don't like the way. There is no other union in Chicago. Is this Mr. Green I'm speaking to?
It is, yeah.
It's definitely Mr. Green. It's not me, let me tell you.
There is no other union. I want to get paid what I was getting paid, which was a lot of money at that hotel. I want to, serve the customers who I was serving, which was parents with children with cancer, because it was in the hospital district of Northwestern and the Lurie Children's Hospital.
But is it the union that's not giving you a job, or is it the company that's not giving you a job? Do you want to go work for the union, or do you want to go work for that company?
The mayor, Lori Lightfoot, struck our contract. She struck our contract down. We haven't been to work. Our union is taking a long time. It's been over 4 years. I mean, they're already subcontracting other people to work in this hotel. That's why I'm on here today, because I'm here to represent myself and the 100-plus members that want their job back. They want their severance pay. They want their retro pay.
And you're very brave to talk up, too.
All the unions know how to do, just like this whole party does, is sweep everything under the rug till it gets smoked out.
Mm-hmm. All right, we're going to break, right? All right, Mary, We're going to break. We're
Thank
going to
you
talk.
for having me.
Wait, we're going to talk more about this, Mary. This is a very interesting
Okay, let's
issue.
go.
Yes. At WCGO, I'm Pat, Wally, and Al's Conservative Talk. Be back in a couple of minutes, I promise you.
Back to that same old place, my sweet home, Chicago.
Producing your own podcast can be frustrating.
Test 1, 2.
Which is why I'm glad to be introducing the brand new multi-format network. We offer digital media, podcasting, and radio broadcasting professional standard production and syndication. Whether you're looking to bolster and polish your business presentations for a Zoom interview, host your podcast, or push your nationally syndicated radio broadcast to a satellite, we can facilitate your every need. So when you're ready to look, sound, and be professional, don't just try to do it yourself. Contact the professionals at the new multi-format network, the Multi-Format Network. From professional syndication to personal vindication, we've got your back. Shoot us an email, mfngeneralmanager@gmail.com. mfngeneralmanager@gmail.com.
Hello, radio listeners. Welcome to WCGO 1590 AM or 95.9 FM. We have a new conservative show on the airwaves, and it's called Pat and Wally's Conservative Talk. I'm your co-host, Pat Gibbons. That being said, I'm going to pass the mic on to my friend and co-host, Wally. Hey, Wally, what do you hear? What do you say?
Hey, how's everyone doing today? We're going to talk about the future, about Chicago crime and the veterans in Chicago.
Tune in Mondays and Tuesdays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Conservative Talk Radio with Pat and Wally. Should be a great show. We look forward to your engagement. We'll be talking about safety issues in the city of Chicago, how our veterans need help and assistance, better needed care. And also, too, very importantly, we're going to talk about the Chicago mayor that needs to be called out. I'm Pat.
I'm Wally.
And this is Pat and Wally's Conservative Talk. Tune in to Pat and Wally's Conservative Talk on Mondays and Tuesdays from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. starting June 5th.
It is estimated that 1.5 million people are arrested for DUI every year in the United States. In Illinois alone, over 30,000 motorists are arrested for DUI. Driving under the influence of alcohol, marijuana, or drugs is one of the most complex of traffic charges on the books. Most people do not understand the complexities of the standardized field sobriety tests, which are horizontal gaze nystagmus, the walk and turn, and the one-leg stand test. Due to improper testing procedures, many people are wrongfully charged with DUI. Whether you have been charged with a DUI or an attorney handling DUI cases, the book DUIs Decoded explains the proper procedures for standardized field sobriety testing, breathalyzer testing, and the penalties in Illinois for driving under the influence.
Real estate, be it residential or commercial, is often a person's most significant and priciest asset. Entering into a contract to buy or sell a real estate property is much more than just filling in the missing blanks on the printed contract. It's wise to hire a lawyer to prepare or review the offer to purchase real estate and take full advantage of his legal expertise. With Mark Sheblo, you will gain an attorney with over 26 years of legal practice and one who has helped thousands of clients to buy or sell their homes or investment property. We will safeguard your interests and might be able to even negotiate a better bargain than a client without proper legal counsel ever could. Oftentimes, a prospective buyer will submit an offer without first consulting an attorney, not realizing that once the offer is accepted by the seller, it becomes a binding contract, and the terms of that contract are not easy to be changed afterwards. Likewise, as a seller, you too will benefit from first consulting an attorney before signing. Feel free to call us for consultation at the law offices of Mark Sheblo at 773-775-5050. Our website is sheblolawoffice.com. Mark Sheblo can be reached 6 days a week at 773-775-5050, Monday through Saturday, located at 5945 North Elston Avenue in Chicago. That's attorney Mark Sheblo, 773-775-5050.
Pat, Wally, and Al's Conservative Talk on WCGO 1590 AM or 95.9 FM. We're having a bunch of callers today. I wish I had 3 hours on this show. Our phone number is 877-711-5611. Again, 877-711-5611. We have a new caller, but before we get to that new caller, I just want to say, if you're listening to this show, you have probably thought about running for office. In 2024, many offices will be on the ballot, including state representative, state senator, and Republican ward committeeman, because incumbents have rigged the system so they can run unopposed. There are many traps that can get candidates kicked off the ballot. To protect yourself, call attorney Perry Abbasi at Chicago Law, LLC. He will prepare your petitions, explain your signature requirement, and make sure you have the correct statement of candidacy and economic interests. He can also defend you before the Board of Elections if your petitions get challenged. Okay? Perry Abbasi is the guy. Chicago Law, LLC can be reached by calling 773-368-5423 or emailing chicagolaw@yahoo.com. Call soon because the first day to gather signatures for 2024 is September the 5th. Perry will be on the show Monday. I like Perry. Great guy. So, our new caller has something to add about unions. Go ahead, new caller.
Hi, Patrick. It's your girlfriend, Ramona.
Oh, my goodness. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my girlfriend, Ramona. Hi, Ramona.
Okay. I wanted to say, add to what Mary is saying. The United Here Local 1 Union, according to Patrick, one of the representatives, he said that there's no enough representatives, nor there's stewards to represent the members. This is why they're having problems with representing the members and taking long for these arbitrations and these grievances that the members are filing. But I always remind the members to let them know that you don't work for them. They work for you. So my thing to the unions as an executive board member, bargaining team member, and a steward is that we need to keep up and follow up and make them work for us because they're working for us. We're not working for them.
Yeah, I have a quick question. Why don't you run for, say, union president? This is Mark Weyermuller, man on the street, by the way. Why don't you run for office and you can help run the union?
Because I was anti-union. I'm really into the union right now because I'm defending people. And me as a Republican, I'm the only Republican in the board. I am the only Republican in the bargaining team. I am the only Republican steward at my school. So they really don't want me there as a Republican and being the committeewoman at the 31st Ward, Belmont-Cragen. So, but as a due payer, I'm there.
Yeah, and good for you.
Yeah,
and I'm going to continue to be there. And I'm going to continue to be there, and I'm not going to let nobody run me off. And I'm going to continue to fight for the people and for the workers because we're there for the workers. We're not there for the union, for the people that work for the union. They work for us.
Amen. Thank you, sweetheart. I'll see you.
And I remind them of that every day.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Thank you, sweetheart. I'll see you soon. Okay? Love you.
Yeah.
Okay, back to Mary. Mary, you're back on.
I'm here. I find it interesting how Mr. Green says to go find another union. I mean, that's like telling somebody who came from another country, which I do have a lot of people that are immigrants in this union. You know, they come and they work here for 15 years, 20 years, and you're telling them to find another union. It's just like telling a Republican person, move out of Chicago because you're not Democratic and you don't agree with the way that the city is run. But let's just be honest. The city is being run by Democrats that are run by unions. And the unions is the public employees and those public officials that make the decisions on everything, from the way the teachers are teaching to the way the police are policing and to the way the city is basically run. You know, and I don't have to find another union. What we need to find is better officials. And my phone is dying, so thank you for having me on.
Thank you for being on, Mary. That's a great contribution to the show. It's great. I love it. All right.
Thank you.
You're always welcome back, Mary. All right. Mark, you have something to say about
That's it. I mean, she called me out. I'd like to at least respond back to that.
Well, okay. There you go.
Well, essentially, I say find another union, just like find a better relationship with anybody else. Find a better hamburger. Find a better anything that you don't want to actually put your actual work into to fix. Now, I can sit here and complain about what politicians are up there, what somebody else at McDonald's is doing. I can complain all day about what is happening, but unless I'm going to actively change something in that system, then I need to go find somebody who already has changed and already has done it. There's no reason. I don't think anybody should stay in a relationship that they don't think that is working out for them. Mm-hmm. End of story on that point. I apologize for interrupting you there, Mark.
No, that was your rebuttal. You deserve to say what you wanted to say, right? Mark, what do you want to say?
Well, switching gears a little bit, on a sad note, today is a 2-year anniversary of the death of Chicago police officer Ella French. She was responding. I don't have all the details, but my understanding is they were doing a felony stop on a car, and the people they were stopping shot her and her partner too. And she died, and several other officers have died in the last couple of years. We have Officer Adriana Preston and Andre Vasquez Lasso. And then, of course, 5 years ago, one of my classmates at St. Ignatius High School, Commander Paul Bauer, was also shot and killed. So this is what I want to be talking more about rather than letting people out or bringing in more migrants. How can we honor these policemen, and how can we stop this crime? We had last year 723 homicides in Chicago, the year before 847. Over the weekend, I understand there were 25 people shot, including a child was killed. Yeah. And this has got to be a priority for us. And we got to get the city turned around. One other thing, I drove by the 20th District Police Station on Lincoln Avenue earlier today, and they have migrants living in the lobby. I don't know what this is about. And without going into the whole immigration thing, why are we having police stations as shelters? There's one bathroom in there with no showers. This stuff is out of control. And I want to call out the 50 aldermen and Brandon Johnson, because we got to turn this around. So that's my thoughts. And just thinking about Ella French 2 years ago today, passed away. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, thank you for telling me that. My prayers go out to Ella French's family. True hero. What has happened to the Chicago Police Department, Mark, in the last few years is unbelievably sad. The media ostracizes them. The media puts them down. And the fact is we have a lot of brave police officers that go through a lot of drama. The drama they see is nothing compared to the average citizen. They come home with this. They see things that we never see. They're out there protecting and serving. They're risking their lives for other people. They're true angels. And the fact is, instead of having news stories of demonizing police officers, we should have more stories like this, honoring police officers, because what they do every day is a service to others. And I can't say enough about them. There should be more police officers, citizens. I am for citizens becoming police officers. If you earn citizenship, then you have the right to apply to be a law enforcement officer. I just don't understand. It's just more democratic BS to win over voters concerning immigration. And they're just spitting in the face of good police officers. And I'm referring to the bill that the governor signed into law that non-citizens now can apply to be a police officer. Mark, this
is crazy that we're bringing in, and one of the arguments is that they're bringing in non-citizens to arrest citizens. And there should be plenty of people want to become firemen, but not that many people want to become policemen, and I would blame that they're demonizing them. I just want, I'm in favor of stop and frisk, for instance. People say, well, that's racist, that's terrible, but I want to stop the criminals. And I do want, this is the liberal Democrat side of me, I want social programs. I want to get these kids in youth baseball or camps or working as lifeguards at pools. We got to, and Chicago Public Schools, this should be a whole focus, is how do we get these kids not in gangs, not, downtown causing, I don't know if you saw do you see the latest thing where Brandon Johnson didn't like them calling him a mob, or what did he say about that?
Political correctness. He said it was a gathering. Yeah, A gathering. Jumping fences, causing havoc, twerking in front of police cars. Okay, a gathering. No, that's a mob, sir. Okay, that's a mob. When you cause destruction, when you're on public streets making a mockery of the Chicago Police Department past curfew hours, I mean, that to me is, you're breaking the law, okay? When I was a kid, Mark, if I ever did anything like that, out past curfew, making fun of police officers, my dad will give me a rhapsody across the face. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, where are the parents on this? And I don't understand. I wouldn't allow, for instance, maybe a convicted felon or someone on bond to be on the CTA. So there's a lot of things you could do. I'm not sure why they're allowing these gatherings, why don't they just arrest people or give them a warning or something? There's got to be a better solution here, because this is not good for anybody in the city, especially the kids that are involved in this. I'm sure a lot of them don't want. They're getting kind of coaxed into this, and like I said, I want to turn Chicago around. I'm not leaving. This is my town, and I just want better leadership. I want to support the police. And we got to find some solutions. What kind of solutions can we find?
Well, I mean, the laws are only as good as the ones you enforce, right? If you don't enforce a law, or somebody doesn't get, let's say somebody just goes around breaking laws and you don't do anything about it, then it just encourages somebody to break those laws even further. I mean, that's really the point. But I think what a lot of this city does is it retroactively fixes a problem. Instead of putting half of that work that would be on the back end and put it towards the front end of preventing a problem, of starting more of a open communication between the police and the citizenry. I mean, for me, I think stop and frisk is part of that friction that's in there. I mean, according to the Constitution, I have a right to not be searched unreasonably just by walking down the street. So if a police officer drives by, doesn't like the way I look,
well, that's probable cause.
And they're able to just search me because they don't like the way I look.
Well, you're confusing profiling with probable cause. If some guys are hanging around on a corner at 2 a.m, there's a good chance they're up to no good.
Or are they breaking a law at that point?
Well,
that's what I mean. Now, if they're under 18, by all means, curfew and et cetera, et cetera. But if I'm over 18 as an American adult voting citizen, it doesn't matter where I stand at any time, as long as it's still a public place. Now, if I'm loitering, by all means, I'm breaking a law, then go. But if I'm just in a random parking lot standing, you don't want a police officer to just walk over to you and say, let me search your car. What if you had a flat tire? What if you had to make a phone call? What if you had to do anything? God forbid, maybe one day you have to sleep in your car because you didn't have enough for a hotel room or anything like that. I am an adult American citizen. You shouldn't be able to just point at me and say, I don't like the circumstance that's going on right here. Empty your pockets.
Well, it depends, Mr. Green, where you're at. Are you in a private parking lot? Because if I seen you,
then I'm trespassing.
Right.
And by all means, if I'm trespassing, then I'm breaking a law. That's what I'm saying. If I'm just out in public, just being here, maybe it's 20 minutes that I was only standing outside of the 7-Eleven. Maybe I'm packing my smokes. Maybe I'm opening my bag of jelly beans. Whatever I'm doing, I'm standing outside for 7 minutes.
Right.
Doesn't matter if the police just happened on me right now, right here. Mm-hmm. It should be you have to have probable cause to search somebody.
Well, I think they do have probable. We have to trust the policemen and support them. If there are policemen doing things that are inappropriate, we have all kinds of channels for this. I mean, the personal injury attorneys love this stuff.
I investigated myself, and we found nothing wrong.
So I'm not overly concerned. I've been stopped. I was stopped about 10 years ago in an alley, and they came up, and we thought they were robbing us a house, and we were actually doing a plumbing job. And I gave them my ID, my business card, and the whole investigation took about 40 seconds, and they were gone as quick as they got there because I was doing nothing wrong. I was not going to backtalk them, and I never found out if someone actually called about us. And I've actually had this happen to me before, though. It's not a big deal because I'm not doing anything wrong, and I produce my ID. I'm going to keep my hands up. If I'm pulled over in the car.
What if they said empty your pockets? There, they said, okay, well, we think you're robbing something. Empty your pockets.
Well, I might mention the Fourth Amendment, and if they have probable cause. But if I was doing something shady,
then I would still have the Fourth Amendment protecting me.
Again,
that's the point of the Fourth Amendment. It's the same thing as the Fifth Amendment. Doesn't matter if I have broken the law, haven't broken the law. I have the right to not incriminate myself by offering evidence to them. Fourth Amendment is physical evidence. Fifth Amendment is me saying evidence.
The whole idea, Mr. Green, is to deter the crime. Carjackings is through the roof. Muggings is through the roof. Trespassing is through the roof. There needs to be some sort of plan in order to deter the crime and stop it.
But it has to be a legal plan. I could make a plan that says everybody who's outside at 11:30 at night is going to get hit in the kneecaps by my baseball bat. That would defer people and make them not want to go outside after 11:30, but it would also make my practice illegal. You still have to work within the confines of the law.
So what is your plan, Mr. Green, to stop crime in Chicago?
To stop crime in Chicago, it should be more open for the police. In a regular, here you are, the police should be farmed from their actual communities. You turn around and you say, here's a person. Hey, we need a person or a civilian liaison from this community. Communication is what's going to prevent this. Every single time that they have turned around in other cities where they've turned around and actually taken somebody from that neighborhood and assigned them that beat and then put the police presence. I'm not saying put a person on every single street corner. We don't need a military police state.
You're talking about beat cops?
But I'm saying the police that are in charge of that place should be involved with that community, other than just driving by, looking menacing, and then running their loop. That should be more about the community outreach, where I said, instead of fixing the back end and constantly worrying about the aftermath, if we can do something at the beginning where those police know the people that hang out at 2 o'clock in the morning. Those people know that this is a regular occurrence at this neighborhood over here. Mm-hmm. Yes, they may have shouting down the line, but they're shouting about a football game. We talked to those people 2 weeks ago about the football game, about how great it's going to be. You have to pull the community and the policing together into a community that is both police and civilian.
You know, we have 66 new elected officials in Chicago. No one's really talking about this much, but they're police liaisons. We just voted on them in the last cycle. And I haven't heard anything about them lately, but we have 66. We already have, I think, 35,000 elected officials in Illinois. So now we have 35, maybe it's 45,000. But we have 66 more. These police liaisons are supposed to help us somehow. So that's just one example, also CAPS programs. But I'm wondering with these, and also the 50 aldermen, what are these people doing to help us? I don't hear anybody, at least we're talking about it.
Yeah. And that's what it is you have to open the communication. You're absolutely right. If they're just going to be people that, once again, would rather sit outside of the community instead of being a part of the community, that's where the breakdown in communication is going to be. As long as it is us versus them, it will always be that way. When it needs to be us and each other, it needs to be we. Those are you talk about pronouns every once in a while. Those are the pronouns that we need to be using, are the we, not the us and the them. That's where it really needs to come around. You're talking about the kids that don't have anywhere to go job-wise or otherwise. You can turn around and say, okay, well, let them shadow a police officer. Let them be the CAPS program and everything that you're doing towards. So
okay, we have a caller on the line, but before we get to that caller, I want to say this message one more time. If you're listening to this show, you have probably thought about running for office. In 2024, many offices will be on the ballot, including state representative, state senator, and Republican ward committeemen, because incumbents have rigged the system so they can run unopposed. There are many traps that can get candidates kicked off the ballot. To protect yourself, call attorney Perry Abbasi at Chicago Law, LLC. He will prepare your petitions, explain your signature requirement, and make sure you have the correct statement of candidacy and economic interests. He can also defend you before the Board of Elections if your petitions get challenged. Chicago Law, LLC can be reached by calling 773-368-5423 or emailing chicagolaw@yahoo.com. Call soon because the first day to gather signatures for 2024 is September the 5th. We have Rich on the line, Mr. Green?
Nope, Rich went away. He's going to have to call next week.
Oh, okay. Rich is gone. So to get back to the stop and frisk idea, Rudy Giuliani, former mayor Rudy Giuliani of New York, he implemented stop and frisk. Is that correct, Mark?
I think so. Crime went down under Giuliani. They always talk about it.
And Mr. Green, that's the whole idea, is to deter the crime. I know about profiling, but I was stopped by the police like a few weeks ago because I had that little older thing hanging from my window. Yeah.
Stop. Sure. Stop and talk with the police.
That's a reason.
Fine. It's the frisk aspect of it, the searching aspect of it. And you're talking about New York's stop and frisk. New York's stop and frisk was already found to be unconstitutional because I think what it was like reasonable suspicion. It wasn't even probable cause anymore. It was reasonable suspicion. This person standing next to a trash can at 2:00 in the morning, reasonable suspicion.
Well, that is suspicious. I mean, what are they doing?
What are they doing? They could be, I don't know, emptying out their pockets of lint. They're standing next to a trash can.
And going back to Ella French, so they were being careful, and she ended up being shot. And if you're doing an investigation, you have to make sure that the people you're investigating are not armed. In Chicago, a lot of people are carrying weapons, and this is for I trust the police. I don't want them hassling people, but if there is probable cause, we got to figure out how we can do it.
Mr. Gray, they have these. There's these punks on TikTok, I kid you not, that's showing off guns on the south side and the west side. And I don't know.
That's breaking the law. Right. By all means, go after people, search people for probable cause.
I totally don't know why it's allowed on social media for them to show off guns, and because they think they're tough. They're not tough. They're really big sissies. But that these punks, they're causing chaos. They're bragging about their crimes. That's the whole reason why we should have some sort of plan like stop and frisk.
Well, how about retail theft? You have to steal $1,000. Why not change it to if you steal a candy bar, you can go to jail? This would be a huge thing. It would. Stores shouldn't have to have all their own private security. We should be going after. It's the same people.
Yeah, retail theft, absolutely. But you know what's wage theft is larger than retail theft. And nobody's stopping and frisking white-collar businessmen. Hey, do you got that the extra overtime that Pat worked that you didn't pay him for?
I think that's another show.
But either way, stop and frisk, you are violating rights. Now, if I'm next to this trash can at 2:00 in the morning and I'm emptying out rounds out of my gun into the trash can, I'm breaking laws. I'm brandishing weapons. But if I'm just sitting there having a soda next to a trash can at certain times of the day, what's suspicious about that? That I'm not sleeping at 2:00? What if I've got insomnia? Like, you don't know what's suspicious, but you do know
just
how
listen to a Mike Pence speech. That'll cure your insomnia.
But you know how to determine if a law has been broken. That's your job as a police officer. Law was broken. Let me arrest you. Go in. You're not investigators to the point where, like, empty out your pockets. Let me see what you got. So that's it. Break a law, get searched and arrested. If I'm not breaking any law and I'm just standing somewhere, you have no right to search me.
All right. How much time we got left?
We got a minute.
You're coming up on the end. Sorry.
Mark, you want to finish it with something?
Well, if you want to follow me, I'm on Twitter at Mark Weyermuller, and I'm on Facebook and Instagram. Where can we follow you guys?
Pat and Wally, that's N, Pat and Wally, Facebook page. Al wasn't here today, but he's part of the team as well. And we're trying to recruit you, Mark, if you want to be on the show as a regular.
And I'm Sonic Engineer, if anybody needs to get at me.
On Twitter?
Sonic Engineer. at X, I guess, now. But
Awesome. All right. Thank you for joining us on the Pat, Wally, and L's Conservative Talk. We love you all.
KGO 1590 AM, W240EH 95.9 FM, Evanston, Chicago.